Captain Maya Ellis heard the officer before she saw him. Heavy boots on pavement, the clipped rhythm of someone already angry. She tightened her grip on her coffee, the pre-dawn air sharp against her skin as she stepped out of her car in uniform. She had done nothing but park. Nothing but exist in the wrong skin at the wrong hour. Blue lights flashed across the concrete like cold lightning. "Hey! You can't be here. Show me ID now." The voice cut through the morning, loud enough for the two bystanders at the gas station to turn. Maya's throat tightened. She kept her hands visible, steady the way training drilled into her. She'd been mistaken before, but never screamed at in full uniform. The officer's face twisted as he closed the distance. "Don't play smart. That's not your uniform. Where'd you get it?" Her heart kicked hard. The Air Force jacket suddenly felt heavier, her silver wings burning against her chest. She inhaled carefully. "Sir, I'm Captain Maya Ellis. I'm due on base." "Lie again," he snapped. "You think you're a pilot." The word pilot came out like an insult, like he was spitting out something he didn't believe black women could be. The world seemed to narrow. The hum of fluorescent lights, cold air biting her cheeks, two witnesses frozen. Maya's pulse hammered in her ears. She had 90 minutes before she was scheduled to fly the commander-in-chief. He grabbed her sleeve. And as his fingers closed on her uniform, Maya realized, if he escalated now, she might never make it to that runway. The moment hung there, razor-sharp, just before everything broke. Captain Maya Ellis spotted the officer only after she stepped out of her car. The parking lot was quiet, washed in pale blue from overhead lights that hummed softly like tired insects. She didn't expect trouble. She only needed coffee before heading to base. She closed her car door gently, tugging her Air Force jacket straight. Her badge and wings gleamed faintly. "Hey!" a voice barked. "You can't park there. Show me ID now." Maya stiffened, turning slowly. Officer Grant Keller was already advancing, one hand slicing the air as if directing traffic, the other near his waist. His boots struck the pavement in sharp, angry beats. Something about his stance, chin jutted forward, shoulders rigid, told her he'd decided she was a problem before she'd taken a breath. "Good morning," Maya said carefully. "I'm Captain Maya Ellis, United States Air." "Aha," Keller cut in. "I said ID. Don't try to get ahead of me." His tone carried something practiced, something he'd used before, the sound of a man who expected fear. Maya slowly reached for her breast pocket, movements controlled. "It's right here, sir." Low scoff. "Sir. Don't get cute." Two bystanders near the station door paused mid-conversation. The lights cast long shadows beneath their feet. Maya felt every gaze, every ounce of tension hanging like a held breath. Keller snatched her ID from her hand before she could fully extend it. "Ellis Maya," he read, voice dripping skepticism. "Captain. Pilot. Really?" He flicked his eyes over her uniform. "Where'd you get this?" Maya inhaled through her nose. "It was issued to me." "Yeah. From where?" "A costume shop." Each word landed like a slap, casual cruelty dressed as suspicion. "I'm due on base for a mission," she said. "I'm not trying to." "Don't interrupt me." Keller stepped closer. Too close. The brim of his hat nearly touched her forehead. "People impersonate officers all the time. I think you're trying to get onto federal property under false credentials." "That's not true." "That's what they all say." Her pulse kicked hard. She forced her voice steady. "Sir, please call the Air Force Emergency Verification Line. My identity will be confirmed in less than." "Don't tell me how to do my job." His voice rose, echoing across the concrete. "Hands where I can see them. They're already visible." "Higher," he snapped. Maya raised them slightly, her fingers trembling despite her training. She hated how he watched the tremor as if it proved something. The two bystanders exchanged glances. One slowly lifted a phone. Keller noticed. "Put that away," he warned. The man froze but didn't lower the device. Maya swallowed. Officer Keller, I've done nothing illegal. Walking around in a fake uniform is illegal, he said. I can detain you right now. You have my ID in your hand. Which doesn't mean it's real. She felt her throat close up. Please. There it is, he muttered. The attitude. Maya's voice cracked. I'm not giving you attitude. I'm trying to get to work. Work. He leaned in, sneering. You don't get to tell me you're some kind of elite pilot. That's not how this works. Her voice shrank to a whisper. It's exactly how it works. Keller ignored her, speaking loudly enough for the growing audience. You're being detained until I can get back up here to verify your identity. Her heart plummeted. Back up. Why? Because you're resisting. I'm not, Maya said sharply, then instantly regretted the edge in her tone. Keller's smile stretched thin. There it is again. She took a slow breath, grounding herself the way instructors once taught her. Press your feet to the earth, focus on the air in your lungs, remember you belong here. Officer Keller, she tried again, please look at the insignia on my uniform. It's standard issue. You think I don't know what's standard? His face reddened. Don't play expert. He stepped even closer. I said stay still. I'm not moving. Good. Then don't give me a reason to escalate. Maya froze. Truly froze. Her lungs locked. Her spine felt carved from ice. Escalate. The word vibrated like a warning siren. Her mission flashed in her mind. The briefing folders, the pre-flight checklists, the president's itinerary, the responsibility she carried every time she entered a cockpit. She could not miss this flight. She could not be late. She could not be arrested for simply existing. Keller spoke into his radio, loudly enough for bystanders to hear, requesting immediate backup. Possible impersonation of federal personnel. Possible impersonation. Maya closed her eyes for half a second. The lie settled in her stomach like a stone. Sirens answered within moments. Distant but approaching fast. See, Keller said. We'll get this sorted. He felt sick. This could cost me my career. Then that's on you, he snapped. Shouldn't have lied. The sirens grew louder, swirling through the cold morning air. Maya realized she was trapped, not by handcuffs, but by his certainty that she didn't belong in the very uniform she earned. And the flashing lights of approaching patrol cars painted the asphalt red and blue as everything she'd built trembled on the edge of collapse. The second patrol car screeched into the gas station lot before the first even settled. Maya counted the lights before she counted the officers, flashes smearing across the pavement like frantic brushstrokes. Keller straightened his posture as if reinforcements validated everything he'd done so far. 2 officers stepped out, one older man with a weathered jaw, the other a younger officer whose face was still soft with inexperience. Their boots hit the ground in unison, the rhythm almost military in its precision. For a fleeting second, Maya wished they were military. Keller waved them over. Right here. Suspected impersonator. Impersonator, the older officer repeated. His gaze slid over Maya's uniform, slowing just slightly at the rank insignia. You said she was confrontational. She was, Keller replied quickly, almost too quickly. Tense, evasive. Tried to rush into her car. I didn't, Maya said, voice low but steady. Keller shot her a glare. You'll speak when spoken to. The younger officer's eyes flickered. Something about his expression tugged at Maya's memory. She studied him. Brown hair, sharp cheekbones, eyebrows that tightened with recognition. But from where? A recruiting event. A STEM outreach talk. A cadet orientation. Her mind scanned possibilities with the speed of a checklist mid-flight. The older officer stepped closer. Ma'am, we need to see identification. Keller has it, Maya answered. Keller. The man turned. You didn't hand it over. I was verifying it, Keller said, shoving the ID toward him. And questioning inconsistencies. The older officer took the card, studied it under the gas station lights, and frowned. Not skeptical, perplexed. This looks official. It's fake, Keller said immediately. It has to be. Look at her uniform. Look at. I'm looking, the older man said curtly. The younger officer edged to the side, eyes still fixed on Maya. His jaw worked as if he was chewing on a decision. Finally he spoke, voice tentative. Sure. I think I've seen her before. Keller's head snapped toward him. What? Maya's pulse surged. This could be the crack, the small seam where truth slipped through. Where have you seen her? The older officer asked. The younger officer swallowed. On base. I think she spoke at the Air Force Youth Enlistment Seminar. Last year. Captain Ellis, right? Keller barked a laugh. Nice try. Maya kept her gaze steady, even as relief tried to climb her throat. Yes, I was a speaker there. I remember, the young officer murmured half to himself. You talked about flight hours and the presidential transport chain. Keller rounded on him. You're being played. She's throwing around titles to confuse you. I'm not confused, the young man said, though his voice wavered slightly. The older officer rubbed the bridge of his nose. Let's slow down. Ma'am, did you attempt to leave the scene? No. Did you resist providing ID? No. Officer Keller took it from me before I could even. Keller cut in sharply. She was tense from the start. Aggressive, even. Aggressive. Maya whispered. Officer, I barely raised my voice. You don't have to shout to be threatening, Keller snapped. It's the attitude. The younger officer flinched. It was subtle, but Maya caught it. The older man sighed, handing the ID back. We need to run this through official channels. Already did, Keller lied. System flagged her. The older officer looked at him. Really looked. Flagged her. How fast did you enter the info? Keller stiffened. Fast enough. The man's jaw tightened. Maya exhaled slowly. This wasn't just a confrontation. It was a story Keller was building, brick by brick, hoping the wall held before truth broke through. The older officer stepped aside to radio HQ. Maya listened to the static, the coded chatter, the brief silence as they waited for a response. Her heartbeat thudded against her ribcage in painful, uneven knocks. Finally the radio crackled. The older officer's eyebrows rose a fraction. Copy that, he said quietly. He returned to the group with a guarded expression. HQ says the ID number corresponds to an active duty officer. Keller scoffed. That doesn't prove anything. IDs get stolen all the time. Keller, the older man said, tone warning. What? You think she's legit? Keller threw his hands up. Look at her. He stopped himself too late. Silence fell like a dropped weight. The younger officer's face drained of color. The older officer stared at Keller, disbelief shifting into something darker. Maya's breath hitched. Keller regrouped quickly, covering his misstep with bluster. I mean, look at her behavior. Her attitude. This doesn't add up. The older officer's voice cooled. Keller, step back. I'm leading this, stop. Step back. Keller's nostrils flared, but he obeyed with a stiffness that made every muscle in his body look dangerous. The younger officer moved closer to Maya. Not too close, just close enough to signal a different kind of presence. Captain Ellis, he said quietly. Are you okay? She hesitated. I just need to get to base. Was your mission time sensitive? Yes, she whispered. Keller overheard. Ah, there it is. Suddenly she's got a mission. Next she'll say she's flying the president himself. Maya didn't speak. Neither did the younger officer, who blinked hard because he knew. The older officer glanced at the ID again, then at Maya. Ma'am, you're free to go. Keller spun. What? No, this is a mistake. It's a command decision. Keller stepped forward, face blotched with rage. She manipulated the kid. She manipulated all of you. She's lying. She's a captain, the older officer snapped. You detained her illegally. Keller's jaw dropped. You're taking her side. The older man leaned in, voice low. I'm taking the side of the law. Keller's eyes burned with something venomous, something personal. Maya recognized that look. Promised trouble later. She walked toward her car, legs trembling, the younger officer watching with quiet apology. She had 35 minutes left to reach the base. Behind her, Keller shouted, "This isn't over." Maya paused only once, just long enough to steady her breath, because she knew he was right. This wasn't over at all. Maya drove only 3 minutes before she had to pull over. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The steering wheel felt slick beneath her palms, and her breath came too shallow, too fast, like altitude pressure without the cockpit. She kept the engine running, the dashboard glowing softly, a quiet contrast to the chaos behind her. She pressed her forehead to the back of her hand. "Stay focused," she whispered. "You have a mission. You have a flight." But Keller's voice echoed louder than the engine. "Fake uniform. Impersonator. Look at her." Maya squeezed her eyes shut. A sharp knock on the car window made her flinch so hard she gasped. It was the younger officer, Officer Reed. He took a small step back, palms visible, expression apologetic. She lowered the window halfway. "Is something wrong?" "No, ma'am," he said quickly. I wanted to check if you were okay." Maya stared at him. He looked barely 23, cheeks flushed with embarrassment he wasn't responsible for. "I'm fine," she lied. "I need to get going." "I understand." He hesitated. "Captain, what Officer Keller did back there wasn't protocol." She nodded faintly. "And he shouldn't have said what he said. Any of it." Her throat tightened. "Thank you." Reed swallowed. "The department, things move slow. Complaints disappear. I don't want that to happen here." "I didn't plan to file anything," she said. He blinked. "Ma'am, with respect, you should." "I don't have time." Reed looked down, conflicted. "I just thought you should know. Keller's already talking to the others. He's spinning a version of the stop." Maya's stomach dropped. "A version?" "He's saying you were uncooperative. That you tried to get back in your car. That you were agitated." "That's not true." Her voice broke on the last word, despite her best effort. Reed's jaw tensed. "I know." Silence hung heavily between them. "But I'm low on the ladder," Reed said quietly. "And Keller, people cover for him." Maya inhaled slowly. "He's going to file a report." "Yes. What happens to me when he does?" Reed looked pained. "If they believe him, you could be temporarily flagged. Maybe grounded pending review." Grounded. The word felt like impact turbulence. "I need to be on base in 25 minutes, Maya whispered. "Then go," Reed said. "Please. Before Keller decides to follow." She blinked. "He'd follow me." Reed didn't answer because the answer was yes. Instead, he stepped back and gave her a small, respectful nod. "Good luck on your mission, Captain Ellis." For a second Maya thought she might cry. But she locked it down the same way she did during rough weather landings. Breathe, tighten, hold steady. She drove. The base gate was 10 minutes away when the nightmare resurfaced. Blue lights flashed again. Her heart slammed. "No," she whispered. "Not again." She pulled to the side automatically, practicing every safety protocol, hands visible on the wheel. A different officer approached, but Keller lingered behind him, hands on his belt, triumphant smirk barely hidden. "He followed me." The approaching officer tapped her window. "Ma'am, please step out." Maya exhaled shakily and complied. Keller folded his arms. "Told you she was trying to flee." "I wasn't fleeing," Maya said. "I'm on duty." The new officer held a tablet. "We have to confirm your clearance level." "You already did this," Maya said. "Your colleague." "Protocol," he interrupted. Keller stepped closer, voice dripping venom. "She's got an attitude problem." "Told you." "That's not true," Maya said. "You raised your voice at me." "I didn't." "You're doing it again." Her pulse spiked. "I'm speaking normally." "Ma'am," the other officer said, Let's not escalate. Her breath hitched. Escalate. The word again. A threat disguised as a warning. Keller crossed his arms. She's hostile. I recommend detaining her until command verifies the ID directly. Detaining. Not questioning. Not checking. Detaining. Maya felt heat rise behind her eyes. You can't detain me for existing in uniform. Keller smirked. Watch me. The young officer from earlier wasn't here. There would be no witness who knew the truth. The new officer turned toward Keller. Look, I'm not sure. Sir, Keller said crisply. She interfered with an active investigation. She ignored instructions. She attempted to flee the scene. That's a lie, Maya snapped too fast. Keller pounced. See. Aggressive. The other officer shifted uncomfortably. Ma'am, please calm down. I am calm. Keller raised his eyebrows theatrically. Is this calm? Maya felt herself sinking, drowning in the twisted simplicity of Keller's tactic. Provoke, misinterpret, repeat. She was trapped inside a narrative she didn't write. The officer with the tablet grimaced. Look, Commander Ellis. Captain, she corrected weakly. Captain. Until base confirms this, we may have to. A voice shouted from behind them. Hey! Let her through. Everyone turned. A Marine in base fatigues jogged toward them from the direction of the security gate. The Marine stopped, panting. She's scheduled for the President's flight crew. You can't delay her. The tablet officer blinked. The President's? Yes, the Marine snapped. She's piloting. Clearance is verified. Move. Keller's face drained of color. Maya stared at the Marine, barely processing. The officer muttered. Captain Ellis, you're cleared. You can go. She managed a nod, legs wobbling. Keller sputtered. This is not over. The Marine turned, voice cold. For your sake, officer, it better be. Maya walked back to her car, the world blurring for a moment. Her body shook, her heartbeat erratic. She had 15 minutes left. And Keller had just made her the target of a lie big enough to threaten everything. Maya's tires rolled over the base checkpoint faster than she meant, but the Marine waved her through with urgent gestures. She nodded once in thanks and continued onto the quiet runway road. Her hands were still trembling, her breath uneven. She glanced at the dashboard clock. 12 minutes left. Just enough time to sprint through security, grab her flight folder, and report to the hangar. Her phone vibrated. A message flashed from her commanding officer. Where are you? Flight crew is waiting. Report immediately. Maya typed back with shaking fingers. Held up by police stop. Arriving now. Explain in person. She parked in the restricted lot, unsteady on her feet the moment she stepped out. The Air Force hangar loomed ahead. Large, metallic, purposeful. Usually, walking toward it steadied her. Today it felt like walking toward judgment. Inside, 3 crew members snapped their heads up as she entered. The room fell into silence. Charts lay spread across a table. Radios crackled softly. A technician froze mid-check over the maintenance log. Major Rowan, her commanding officer, stood near the central workstation. Broad-shouldered, composed, and stern by nature. He looked up with sharp eyes Maya couldn't read. Captain Ellis, he said. Office. Now. Her stomach dropped. Yes, sir. She followed him into the small briefing room at the back. The door clicked shut behind them. Rowan didn't sit. Why are you late? Maya swallowed. Sir, I was stopped by local police. For what? She hesitated, her voice unsteady. They accused me of impersonating military personnel. Rowan's eyebrows shot up. Impersonating? Yes, sir. How long did they detain you? Close to 20 minutes. 20. Rowan exhaled through his nose. Slow, irritated breath. Ellis, this is a presidential flight. We cannot afford delays. I know, sir. I tried. He raised a hand. I know you tried. But there's more. He tapped a tablet sitting on the desk. I received an incident notice from the precinct. Filed by an Officer Grant Keller. Her heart lurched. Already? Rowan scrolled. According to him, you were argumentative, refused to cooperate, attempted to flee, and became verbally aggressive. That's all false, Maya said, voice cracking. Sir, none of that happened. Rowan studied her closely, jaw tightening. Are you certain? Yes, sir. He continued reading aloud. Subject attempted to mislead officers with falsified identification. Maya felt heat rise behind her eyes. Sir, I provided my ID immediately. He took it out of my hand. He refused to verify it. Did you raise your voice at any point? No. Did you move toward your vehicle? No. Did you attempt to leave before officers completed verification? No, sir. What about verbal hostility? I was scared, she admitted softly. But I never shouted or insulted anyone. Rowan set the tablet down. Captain, do you have any witnesses? One of the officers recognized me. Officer Reed. And 2 civilians were filming. Rowan crossed his arms. Were you aware they were recording? Yes, sir. He nodded once. Good. For a moment, silence filled the room, thick and heavy. Finally Rowan spoke again, his voice softer. Ellis, you're one of the best pilots I've supervised. Your record is clean. Your evaluations are exceptional. He paused. Which means this situation is either a severe misunderstanding, or an officer falsified a report. It's the second one, Maya whispered. Sir, he followed me. After I left, he pulled me over again. Rowan stiffened. He followed you? Yes, sir. That is a serious accusation. It's the truth. Rowan paced once across the small room, then stopped. Listen carefully. If the report stands unchallenged, I may be required to ground you pending investigation. I do not want that. Especially not before a presidential mission. Fear punched through her chest. Sir, please. I can fly. Rowan studied her face. The pale tension around her mouth, the trembling in her hands she tried to hide. Are you sure? Yes, she said, louder than she intended. Sir, if I miss this flight, they'll use it against me. It will look like the police report was right. Ellis. I can fly, she repeated, lower, steadier. I need to fly. Rowan held her gaze for a long, decisive second. Then he nodded. Report to the cockpit, he said. You're cleared to fly. But this isn't over. Relief washed through her so fast her knees weakened. Thank you, sir. But understand this. Rowan stepped closer, lowering his voice. Internal Affairs will review the report. They will question every detail. And if Keller continues pursuing this narrative, the situation could escalate. You will need to be ready. I understand, sir. You will need to give a formal statement after landing. I'll do it. Rowan exhaled. Good. Now go. She turned to leave, but he added quietly. Ellis, be careful. She nodded once, unable to speak. The hangar noise hit her as soon as she stepped out. The echo of boots, the soft hiss of hydraulic lifts, the steady murmur of technicians running final checks. Her crew looked up again. This time they didn't stare in judgment, but in concern. Chief Engineer Valdez approached. Everything okay, Captain? She forced a thin smile. I'll brief in the air. Valdez didn't push. Maya climbed the metal stairs toward the cockpit, each step grounding her more than the last. The adrenaline still pulsed, but her training slid into place like muscle memory finding its rhythm. She belonged here. In the seat. In the sky. Not back in that parking lot. Not under Keller's thumb. When she reached the cockpit and rested her hand on the controls, her breathing finally steadied. In 9 minutes, she would be airborne, flying the president's plane. And Keller's lies would have to wait. The plane hummed underneath Maya's boots, a familiar vibration that usually settled her heartbeat. Today it barely made a dent. She slid into the captain's seat, strapped in, and rested her hands on the controls. They still trembled. Lieutenant Harper, her co-pilot, glanced over from the right seat. Rough morning? He asked lightly, though concern edged every word. Maya kept her eyes on the instrument panel. Something like that. You good to fly? I'm here, she said. It wasn't a yes, but Harper let it stand. A flight attendant stepped into the cockpit. Captain Ellis. The president will be boarding in 3 minutes. Crew wants confirmation if you're ready to taxi. Ready, Maya said. Thank you. The attendant nodded and disappeared. Harper adjusted his headset. Want me to handle radio check-in? No, Maya said quickly. Then softer. No. I've got it. She keyed the mic. See, this is Air Force One requesting clearance for taxi. Her voice sounded steadier than she felt. That was something. TC responded promptly. Air Force One, you are cleared. Harper gave her a sideways look. Ellis, are you sure you're okay? She forced a breath. I said I'm fine. He didn't believe her. But he also didn't push. He'd flown with her long enough to recognize when she needed silence more than comfort. The cabin door clicked shut behind them. A crew member called out, VIP is on board. Maya's shoulders straightened automatically. This was where she belonged. She eased the plane forward onto the taxiway. The engines roared low, a steady, powerful sound that normally filled her with pride. Today it was a reminder. She needed control. She needed clarity. She needed to get this flight perfect. Harper's voice softened. Ellis, what happened this morning? Maya kept her gaze ahead. A traffic stop. He lifted an eyebrow. A traffic stop made you 15 minutes late to a presidential mission? It wasn't a normal stop. You want to talk about it? No. Harper hesitated. All right. They lifted off smoothly, climbing into a crisp blue sky streaked with morning light. The ascent steadied her. The horizon expanded. Her heartbeat finally began leveling. Flying was the one place no one questioned her existence. At least, that had always been true until today. Harper watched her quietly for several minutes. Then, under his breath, whatever happened, it stuck to you. Maya didn't respond. Her throat tightened. She focused on altitude, airspeed, headings, anything but the memory of Keller's voice. 2 hours into the flight, Harper unbuckled. Want water? Sure. While he stepped out, Maya rested her hands briefly in her lap. They were still trembling. The cockpit door cracked open again, but instead of Harper, Valdez stepped in, brow furrowed, tablet in hand. Captain, you need to see this. Maya tensed. Is something wrong with the aircraft? No, he hesitated. Something online. Her stomach dropped. Online. Valdez handed her the tablet. On screen was a paused video. Gas station. Pre-dawn. Blue lights. Keller. And her. The title read, Police officer yells at black woman in uniform. Claims she's faking it. Her breath froze. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Valdez pressed play. Keller's voice blasted through the tablet. Hands where I can see them. Where'd you get that uniform? Don't lie to me. Maya felt her chest cave inward. She could hear her own voice in the background. Calm, controlled, trying to breathe through terror. Harper slipped back in, saw the screen, and swore under his breath. What is that? It went viral, Valdez said grimly. Posted 40 minutes ago. 70,000 views. 70. Harper's eyes widened. While we were in the air. Yes. Maya shut her eyes, pulse spiking. Does command know? Probably, Valdez said. But what matters is, the whole country is seeing this. Harper looked at her softly. Ellis. You didn't deserve that. She clenched her jaw. Turn it off. Valdez complied. But the silence after was suffocating. Harper leaned back in his seat, voice low. When we land, this is going to be big. Maya swallowed hard. I didn't want this. No one does, Harper said. But it's not your fault. Maya stared at the horizon, heart aching at the truth she hated to admit. Keller's lies weren't just going to haunt her. They were about to erupt around her. And she was still 30,000 feet in the air without any way to prepare. By the time Maya stepped off the aircraft, the sunlight had shifted. Bright, cutting, too honest. Her boots touched the tarmac with practiced precision, but her breath faltered. She could feel the weight of the cockpit letting go of her shoulders only to be replaced by something heavier. Harper walked beside her, eyes on his phone. It's getting worse. She didn't look. How many views? 1.6 million. Her stomach lurched. That can't be right. He showed her the screen. The number climbed as she watched. Comments flashed upward faster than she could read. This is disgusting. Another officer abusing power. She's literally in uniform. Fire him. Who is she? Someone find her. Her throat tightened. People know my name. Not yet, Harper said. But they're trying. Maya shut her eyes for a second. The runway noise, engines cooling, radios crackling, metal shifting, faded beneath the roar of something deeper and more dangerous. She never wanted to be a symbol. She only wanted to fly. A security detail approached with brisk steps. Captain Ellis, command needs you. Now. Harper squeezed her shoulder once before stepping back. Silent support she wasn't ready to acknowledge. The detail escorted her across the tarmac and into a transport vehicle. The moment the doors shut, the radio inside crackled with chatter. News anchors, police statements, pundits arguing. Someone at HQ must have patched in a feed. Video of a black woman in full Air Force uniform being confronted by a police officer. The officer's precinct has issued a preliminary statement claiming she was uncooperative. Public outrage continues to grow as more footage is shared. Maya's fingers curled into tight fists. Turn that off, please. The soldier driving nodded and killed the feed. Silence settled. Too loud, too brittle. She stared out the window as the vehicle moved across the base. Her reflection in the glass seemed smaller than usual. The silver wings on her chest suddenly foreign. Inside the command building, the atmosphere was electric. Phones ringing non-stop, footsteps pounding through hallways, officers speaking in clipped tones. Whispers followed her as she passed. That's her. I saw the video. She was flying the president today. No way that was an impersonation. She felt the words brush against her uniform like static. Major Rowan waited outside the briefing room, jaw tight, arms crossed. Captain Ellis, he said. Inside. She entered. A screen on the wall played the video. Muted but looping relentlessly. Every frame a reminder. Every frame a wound. Two colonels sat at the table, faces hard to read. Rowan closed the door behind them. Colonel Avery spoke first. Captain, we need to walk through the incident. Maya nodded. Yes, sir. You understand the severity of this. Yes, sir. You understand the public attention. Yes, sir. And you understand the Department of Defense has already received inquiries from the press. Maya's pulse spiked. Press. Avery tapped his tablet. 11 national outlets. 3 international. Her skin went cold. Colonel Harris leaned forward, fingers interlaced. We will handle the media. Your job is to give us an exact, detailed rundown of what happened. No assumptions. No interpretations. Just facts. Maya swallowed. Yes, sir. Avery glanced at Rowan. Proceed. Rowan nodded at Maya. Start from the beginning. She took a slow breath. Officer Keller approached me while I was getting coffee. He demanded ID. Complied. He took it from me and refused to verify it. He claimed I was impersonating an officer. Harris raised a hand. Tone. Hostile, Maya said softly. Aggressive. He yelled. He accused me of lying. Avery typed something. And you? I stayed calm. Did you raise your voice? No, sir. Rowan spoke next. 2 civilians filmed the stop. A 3rd officer recognized you. Keller insisted on detaining you anyway. Correct. Yes. Harris frowned. And then he followed you after you left? Yes, sir. Do you have proof? Maya hesitated. Only my word. The colonels exchanged a look. Then Avery tapped the tablet again. Actually, Captain, we might have more. Maya blinked. Sir. Avery turned the tablet around. Second video played. It was shaky footage from a civilian at the base checkpoint. Keller pulling up behind her car, gesturing angrily, speaking to the officer at the gate before Maya even rolled down her window. Another angle. Another bystander. Another clip. Her breath hitched. I didn't know someone recorded that. Rowan crossed his arms. It surfaced 10 minutes ago. Your stop is now the #1 trending video in the country. Maya felt the wall behind her tilt. The room swayed. Sir, I never wanted. We know, Rowan said. Avery leaned back. The problem is Officer Keller has already made public statements to his precinct. His version claims you were combative, evasive, and unprofessional. He says you misled his team. That's a lie, Maya said sharply. Of course it is, Rowan snapped. We're not debating that. Avery nodded. But the precinct is now under public fire. They're digging in. They're protecting him to save themselves. Maya's ribs tightened, breath shallow. What happens to me? Harris leaned forward. There will be a formal hearing. When? Tomorrow morning, Rowan said. Internal review. Closed session. Tomorrow, Maya whispered. Sir, I barely. Avery's gaze softened only slightly. Captain, you're not under investigation for misconduct. You're being called as a witness. For your own protection. For my protection, she echoed. Harris nodded. Because Officer Keller is doubling down. And the world is watching. Maya pressed a hand against her uniform. The same spot Keller grabbed, the place her wings sat. Rowan spoke quietly. Ellis. This is bigger than your mission now. Her eyes stung. She blinked hard to keep the tears from falling. Avery stood. Get some rest, Captain. Tomorrow you tell your truth. Maya nodded, though her legs felt weak. As she turned to leave, Rowan called after her. Captain Ellis. He paused. Rowan's voice softened. You handled yourself with dignity. Don't let his lies take that from you. Maya swallowed the lump in her throat. Yes, sir. But as she walked down the hallway, alone, exhausted and trembling, she felt the world pushing closer, demanding something she wasn't sure she had strength left to give. The conference room felt colder than any cockpit Maya had ever flown. Windowless, gray-walled, humming with the low buzz of fluorescent lights. Nothing about it was meant to comfort. It was a room designed for facts, scrutiny, and consequences. 3 officers sat behind a long table. Colonel Avery, Colonel Harris, and Lieutenant General Monroe, the highest-ranking official in the room. Monroe's presence alone made the air feel tighter, like gravity had doubled. A recorder blinked red at the center of the table. Rowan stood behind Maya like a silent wall of support, hands clasped tightly behind his back. Captain Ellis, Monroe said, voice deep even. Before we begin, understand this procedure is not a disciplinary action against you. You are here as a primary witness. Yes, sir, Maya replied. Take a seat. She sat. The chair felt too firm, too upright, as if designed to hold her in place even if she wanted to collapse. Avery leaned forward. This hearing concerns the events of 0540 hours yesterday morning. The interaction between you and Officer Grant Keller. His filed report, circulating footage, and conflicting testimonies. Maya folded her hands to keep them from trembling. I'm ready, sir. Monroe nodded to Avery. Proceed. Avery pressed play on the first video. The room filled with Keller's voice. Hands where I can see them. Where'd you get that uniform? Don't lie to me. Maya's chest tightened, but she kept her gaze steady. When the clip ended, the lights felt too bright. Is this an accurate depiction of events? Avery asked. Yes, sir. Did you raise your voice at any time? No, sir. Did you attempt to leave? No. Harris folded his arms. Captain, Officer Keller's report claims you attempted to re-enter your vehicle in a suspicious manner. That is false, Maya said calmly. I did not move toward my car. Avery tapped his pen. His report also claims you were verbally aggressive. That is also false. Did you curse at him? No, sir. Did you refuse instructions? No, sir. Did he give conflicting instructions in rapid succession? Yes, Maya said. Repeatedly. Monroe raised an eyebrow. Examples. He told me to keep my hands raised. Then claimed I was resisting because they were raised. He demanded I speak. Then accused me of being disrespectful when I answered. Rowan exhaled sharply behind her, though he kept silent. Avery wrote something on his notes. Then the second clip played, the one from the base checkpoint. Keller pulled up behind her, angry, gesturing wildly. Monroe paused the video. Captain, did he follow you after the initial release? Yes, sir. Avery tapped the screen. He approached the base officer before you did. This appears to show intent to escalate. Do you agree? Maya chose her words slowly. Sir. It shows he didn't want the situation to end. Harris nodded slightly, impressed by her restraint. Captain Ellis, Monroe said. After he followed you, did he attempt to detain you again? Yes, sir. Based on what grounds? He claimed I attempted to flee. And did you? No. Is there any point at which you considered you might be arrested? Maya hesitated. The answer lived in her chest like a bruise. Yes, sir, she said softly. I believed he might arrest me for nothing. Avery's pen stopped moving. Harris leaned forward. How did that make you feel, Captain? Maya inhaled, slow, shaky. I felt powerless, sir. And afraid. Rowan shifted behind her. Monroe's gaze softened, barely. Thank you, Captain, Harris said gently. Your honesty is appreciated. Avery looked toward the door. Bring in Officer Keller. Maya's heart lurched. The door opened and Keller stepped inside. Uniform stiff, chin high, jaw clenched. But his eyes flicked nervously across the room before settling into practiced confidence. He didn't look at Maya. Lieutenant General Monroe straightened. Officer Keller, this panel has reviewed your report. We need clarity on several discrepancies. Keller nodded, stiff. Yes, sir. Avery opened a folder. You claimed Captain Ellis was aggressive. Yet video evidence shows her speaking calmly. Keller's jaw twitched. The video doesn't show everything. She was hostile before recording began. Harris raised an eyebrow. You stated she attempted to flee. Video shows her standing still. She was preparing to flee, Keller insisted. I know the signs. Signs, Avery repeated. Explain. She was tense, defensive, fidgety. Maya blinked. Fidgety. Monroe's expression hardened. Officer, tension is not grounds for escalation. She gave me attitude, Keller said. Avery glanced at Maya, then back at Keller. Attitude is not a crime. Keller's voice rose. She was impersonating an officer. She was in full uniform with valid ID, Harris said. Keller scoffed. Anyone can print an ID. Enough, Monroe snapped, the authority in his tone filling the room like thunder. Keller froze. Rowan's lips curled at the edge. Finally someone shutting Keller down. Avery cleared his throat. We have another witness. Officer Reed. Keller stiffened. The door opened again and Reed entered, nervous but resolute. He nodded to Maya before facing the panel. Avery gestured. Officer Reed, did Captain Ellis behave aggressively at any point? No, sir. Did she attempt to flee? No, sir. Did she appear confused or non-compliant? No, sir. Did she raise her voice? Not once. Monroe leaned forward. Did Officer Keller behave appropriately? Reed hesitated just a beat. Then, no, sir. Keller whipped toward him. Are you serious? Reed didn't flinch. Sir, with respect. Captain Ellis complied with every instruction. Officer Keller escalated without cause. Keller's voice shook with rage. You're making a mistake. Monroe's eyes locked on him. The only mistake here, Officer Keller, was yours. Silence fell. Heavy. Final. Avery closed the folder. Based on testimonial contradictions, video evidence, and falsified claims, the panel will recommend immediate suspension pending full investigation. Keller's face drained, then flushed a violent red. You can't. You are dismissed, Monroe said. Keller stared at them, at Maya, with hatred sharp enough to cut. But no one moved. No one defended him. Reed stepped slightly in front of Maya, as if shielding her from the look Keller gave. Finally, Keller turned and stormed out. The door slammed behind him. Monroe exhaled. Captain Ellis, thank you. You may step out now. Maya stood on shaking legs. Yes, sir. As she walked out, Reed whispered, I'm sorry for what you went through. She nodded, throat too tight to speak. Outside the room, she placed a hand against the cool wall, breathing unevenly. She had survived the hearing, but the emotional toll still clung to her like a shadow. The hallway outside the hearing room felt like a tunnel Maya had walked through before, dim, sterile, humming with fluorescent lights. But this time it felt longer, heavier. Reed lingered at her side until she steadied her breathing enough to nod that she was okay. Rowan approached with measured steps. Ellis. She stood straighter. Sir. He studied her face. You handled yourself exceptionally. Thank you, sir. You may be called again. But for now you're dismissed. Get some rest. Rest. She wasn't sure she remembered what that felt like. Maya nodded, saluted, and left the building. Outside, the sunlight was painfully bright, reflecting off the metal railings and the row of patrol vehicles. It felt like a different world than the gray interrogation room, yet the tension clung to her uniform like static. Her phone buzzed non-stop in her pocket. She ignored it until she reached the quiet corner near the base cafe. Finally, with a small sigh, she checked. Hundreds of notifications. Texts, emails, voicemails, strangers, reporters, former classmates, fellow pilots. One message stood out. Captain Ellis, thank you for your strength. I saw the video. I'm crying. Stay safe. Aisha, a young cadet Maya mentored last year. Her throat tightened. She scrolled further. You handled that with more dignity than anyone I know. Sergeant Moore. I'm so proud of you. Whatever you need. Her aunt. A message from an unknown number. We are reviewing police conduct. Officer Keller is now suspended. Maya exhaled sharply. Relief and exhaustion tangled messily in her chest. Suspended. It wasn't justice yet. But it was something. Her commanding officer found her again near the walkway. Rowan wasn't a man who usually left his office. That alone told her the situation was bigger than the walls of command. Captain, he said, lowering his voice. HQ issued a statement. Her pulse quickened. About me. About the incident. They confirmed your identity, your mission status, and condemned the misconduct. They didn't name Keller, but the implication is clear. Maya stared ahead. Sir, I didn't want any of this. I know. Rowan's tone softened. But you didn't cause this. People online. She stopped herself. They're treating me like a headline. You're not a headline, Rowan said firmly. You're an officer who was wronged. And you handled it with restraint others wouldn't have managed. Maya swallowed. What happens next? Internal Affairs will conduct a full investigation. Keller may face charges. Falsifying a report is a serious offense. She folded her arms tightly, grounding herself. Sir, I don't want to ruin someone's life. Rowan sighed. Ellis, he tried to ruin yours. Her breath hitched. He continued gently. Accountability isn't revenge. She nodded slowly, unsure she believed that yet. Later in her dorm room, Maya sat on the bed with her back to the wall. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of the AC unit. Her uniform jacket lay across her lap, creased from where Keller grabbed it. She ran her thumb over that spot, feeling the roughness of the fabric. Her wings glinted under the overhead light. She remembered Keller's sneer. "Where'd you get that uniform?" She remembered her own voice shaking. "I'm Captain Ellis." She remembered the fear, the humiliation, the helplessness. She closed her eyes. A knock sounded on her door. "Come in." Harper stepped inside, holding 2 bottles of water. "Figured you could use one." She gave a small smile. "Thanks." He sat on the edge of the desk, bouncing his knee lightly. "How are you holding up?" "Fine," she said automatically. He raised an eyebrow. She sighed. "I don't know. That's more honest." She shook her head. "It's just, it wasn't supposed to become this big." "That's what happens when people see the truth," Harper said. "They react." She stared at the floor. "I didn't want attention." "But attention found you," he replied. "And you didn't crumble." Her eyes stung. "I almost did. But you didn't." They sat in silence for a long moment. Harper finally added, "By the way, the president's aide sent a message through command. They want you on the next mission." Maya blinked. "Already? Already?" She looked down at her hands, still shaking faintly but not as violently as before. "I don't feel ready," she admitted. "You don't have to feel ready," Harper said softly. "You just have to show up." Her eyes glistened. "What if it happens again?" He held her gaze. "Then we'll stand with you this time." Maya let out a breath that felt like it had been trapped since dawn. Outside, jets roared across the sky. Steady, powerful, unbothered. Tomorrow wasn't promised to be easier. But she wasn't facing it alone. The next morning felt quieter than it should have. The base was already awake. Soldiers crossing the pavement, mechanics rolling tool carts, engines rumbling in distant hangars. Yet the air felt strangely still, as if the base itself was waiting. Maya walked toward the flight line with her uniform jacket folded over one arm. The sunrise painted long strokes of gold across the runway, a contrast to the shadows still clinging to her chest. She felt the weight of the previous day in her footsteps, but there was something else now, something steadier. Her phone buzzed with notifications again. She ignored them, but one caught her eye. Captain Ellis approved for promotion evaluation. Effective immediately. She stopped walking. Harper, jogging to catch up, noticed her expression. "You saw it. Promotion," she whispered. "You earned it," he said. "Long before any of this happened." She didn't answer. Her throat was too tight. They reached the aircraft, a sleek presidential transport jet, polished and immaculate. Crew members moved around it with focused precision. Valdez waved her over. "Morning, Captain." "Morning," Maya said, voice soft but steady. "Everything's prepped. All we need is you." Harper leaned in. "You ready?" Maya took a breath. "Yes, I'm ready." Inside the cockpit, the familiar controls welcomed her like an old friend. She ran her hands across the panel, fingers tracing the switches and screens that had always made her feel grounded. But as she reached for her headset, Valdez poked his head in. Captain, you might want to see this." Maya exchanged a look with Harper and stepped out of the cockpit. Across the hangar, several soldiers were gathered around a TV mounted on the wall. The volume was low, but subtitles scrolled across the bottom. Officer Grant Keller suspended amid investigation into falsified police report. Multiple videos contradict his official statement. Community demands transparency. Then a still image of her. Maya's stomach tightened. The photo showed her standing calmly with her hands raised, Keller shouting inches from her face. The narrator's voice explained the context with precision, stating clearly that the Air Force confirmed her identity and role. Then came the next headline. Captain Maya Ellis praised nationwide for composure and professionalism. Harper murmured, "It's everywhere." Valdez nodded. "Sir, ma'am, everyone knows the truth now." Maya watched numb. A swirl of emotions, relief, anger, exhaustion, fought for space inside her. She finally spoke, voice low. I didn't want to be praised. Harper placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You didn't ask to be. But people saw what really happened. She looked away from the screen. What about Keller? Valdez hesitated. Internal Affairs recommended charges. Fabrication of a report. Harassment. Misconduct. Maya closed her eyes briefly. Not triumphant. Not vindictive. Just tired. He'll have to answer for his actions, Harper said. But that's not on you. She nodded slowly. I know. It's just surreal. Justice usually is, Harper said softly. 30 minutes later, Maya stood at the bottom of the air stairs, waiting for final clearance. The president wasn't boarding today, but the aircraft was being repositioned to another base for operational checks. This was her first time back in command since the hearing. Her hands no longer shook. A staff sergeant approached, saluting crisply. Captain Ellis, command asked me to deliver something. She accepted a sealed envelope. Inside a single note, simple typed. We trust you. Keep flying. Office of the President. Maya stared at the words, breath-catching. Harper whistled softly. That's something. It is, she whispered. Slowly, she folded the note and slipped it into her jacket. As she climbed the air stairs, she looked back across the runway. The sun had fully risen now, glinting off hangars, vehicles, and the faint shimmer of heat rising off the asphalt. Somewhere out there, Keller was facing consequences. Somewhere out there, people were talking, arguing, debating, questioning. But up here, in the sky, none of them had power over her. She stepped into the cockpit. Harper strapped in beside her. Seat belts. Pre-flight checks. You ready to take the controls? Maya smiled, not wide, not celebratory, but real. I'm ready. She placed her hands on the throttle, steady, confident. Air Force One requesting clearance, she said into the mic. Static crackled. Air Force One, you are cleared for takeoff. Maya eased the throttle forward. The engines roared. The runway stretched before her, long and open. Harper glanced over. Captain Ellis. Yes. Welcome back. Maya breathed in deeply. Steady, grounded, unbroken. Let's fly.